Recording in progress.
Good morning, Masi. Are we ready to go?
Good morning, Chairperson. Yes, we can proceed, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Good morning, members of Parliament, the Minister or the Deputy Minister, if they are on the platform, members of the media, staff members, members of the DPSA, the National School of Government, and the AGSA. Welcome to this meeting. Let me just take this opportunity to say hello to everybody. As per our standard procedure now, I would like to ask for the adoption of the agenda by members. Can I please have any mover for the adoption of the agenda? And can I please ask Masi that you just fly to the agenda on the screen for us? Thank you. There you go, members. Please note, we are starting at 10 o'clock today. We are right on time. We are scheduled to go to 1 o'clock. Members, as I've communicated to you on the WhatsApp group, we've received requests from members that, if possible, we end as early as potentially possible, because members still need to move from Acacia Park or wherever they reside to Parliament for the session, which begins today at 2 o'clock, not the normal 3 o'clock, which we are accustomed to on Wednesdays. So, members, it's in your hands. We are scheduled to go to 1, but I think if we are efficient and if we are focused in our deliberations, we should be able to end earlier than 1 o'clock. But at 1 o'clock, I will have to end the meeting. This is just also a call to the DPSA, the NSG, and the AGSA to please also be efficient in your presentations, to not just read us the PowerPoint slides, but to cut to the core of the matter and make sure that we are presented with what is the important parts of what you wish to achieve, and tell us today about the Professionalisation Framework and the functions of the AGSA. With that being said, members, can I please have a mover to adopt the agenda as it is flighted on the screen? Members, can I please just see a hand for anybody who moves to adopt the agenda? Honorable Tikana? Honorable Tikana, I see your hand.
Good morning, honorable members, honorable chair, and everybody in the platform. I move for the adoption of the agenda, Chair. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for the assistance, Honorable Tikana. Members, if there are no objections, then and I see the hand of Honorable Kaba as well. Honorable Kaba.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, and I stand to support the adoption.
Wonderful.
The mover.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kaba. We really appreciate it. The agenda has been seconded as well, and it has now been adopted. Members, we then move on. We have received apologies from Honorable Lehlape. He's in another meeting, and we've also received an apology from Honorable Potgieter that she will be joining us approximately half an hour later today. I've received no other apologies, but I'm willing to take apologies from the floor. Is there anybody who wishes to just forward an apology?
Chair, good morning. My name is Pinky Kikana, Deputy Minister. I hope you have the apology of the minister because today it's Cabinet Day. I'm not sure if they forwarded it to you, but he's sitting in Cabinet.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Minister, and welcome to our meeting. I did not see the apology, but that might have been a mistake on my side. But it is duly noted. We understand that Cabinet sits today. I see two hands. Honourable Tikana, please go ahead.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. I would wish the committee to record the standing apologies of the members who are not well, that of Chief Mtirara and also Honorable Polwane, who is hospitalized. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. We do note that. We know that Honourable Matutu is recovering and also Honourable Polwane, so we note that. Thank you very much, and I think we can note that as a standing agreement. I see there's another hand on the platform. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chabelo Maja, Deputy Director General from the National School of Government. The principal of the school is here, but his network is very bad. With your permission, Chair, I will be leading the team on our side. Duly noted. Thank you very much, Mr. Maya. That should not be an issue as long as you do a good job. So no, you are most welcome to lead your delegation today. Okay, members, with those apologies noted, and if there are no more other apologies to note, we can then just move along with our agenda. Members, the implementation of the National Framework on Professionalisation of the Public Sector remains our #1 priority in the 7th Parliament as government strives towards building a capable, ethical and a developmental state. Our last engagement on the framework was on the 19th of February this year, meaning this committee will on a quarterly basis track the progress regarding the implementation of this professionalisation framework. It is our responsibility as the sector to champion the implementation and monitoring of the framework in the public sector. Implementation of the framework should first begin in the public service, and we are glad that there seems to be some movement. However, we need a clear monitoring and evaluation tool designed by our sector to measure the implementation of the framework, and this will help give us a clearer picture. The tool should assist Parliament to hold all public sector institutions accountable if there is non-adherence to implement the framework. But with those few words, let me introduce the Deputy Minister to just ask her if she would like to give us some opening remarks, whereafter we will introduce the presenters for both the DPSA and the NSG, and then lastly, the AGSA will also provide us with a presentation on the role in auditing and compliance relating to the framework. Deputy Minister, would you like to make some opening remarks?
Chairperson, thank you very much. And if you allow me, let me close the video because I know my connection, I'm in Cape Town, but the connection in the house is not that well. Good morning to members, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, as well as the team from DPSA, from NSG, and the AGSA. I think, like you already said, Chair, this is, we are coming back to the Portfolio Committee just to indicate the state of readiness on how we are going to make sure that the professionalization framework is implemented, but also how we are going to collaborate amongst ourselves, because there's a role that DPSA is going to play, but there's a bigger role that the NSG is also going to play. And the AG also in our last engagement said they are also going to make sure that the professionalization framework is institutionalized. So as the audit departments, they'll also look at how the APP is talking to professionalizing the public service. And like you said, Honorable Chair, we are responding also to priority 3 of the medium-term development plan that the GNU has agreed on, but also responding to the National Development Plan, because it also speaks about the capacity of the state to deliver, building a capable, ethical, and developmental state. So we are here ready to present to you from the NSG side, from DPSA side, and we are glad that the AGSA is also part, because remember, one of the things that we shared with the portfolio committee was to say the president wants to drive this professionalization thing. He wants to champion the professionalization of the public service, because in it will bring public trust, especially in the frontline service delivery departments, be it health, be it local government, be it education, be it SAPS, and all other departments that have to deliver services to our people. So we are ready to do that as a public service, but also through the NSG. They will also share with you how they have modeled the modules to also enhance training and development for our public servants in various categories, so that we are able to enhance their capacity to deliver and be as professional and be able to serve our people. So on that note, allow me to, I know from the department, Anusha will be presenting on behalf of the department, and Dr. Manja was saying if the principal is unable to, he will be leading from the NSG side. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and members of the Portfolio Committee, and I hope the Minister's apology is accepted. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Yes, indeed, the Minister's apology has been noted and accepted. And with that, I move that we work towards the presentation of the update by the DPSA and the National School of Government on the development relating to the implementation of the professionalisation framework in the public sector and the monitoring tools, which is the big question we as committee has asked. So with that, the DPSA can please start their presentation.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members, Honorable Deputy Minister, AGSA, officials, all colleagues on the platform. Chairperson or Secretariat, if you can please help me. Am I audible and is my presentation visible?
Yes, 100%. Good morning and welcome. You are audible and we can see your presentation.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. Our presentation from the Department of Public Service and Administration will be on the update on the development relating to the implementation of the Professionalisation Framework, and in particular, the Professionalisation Directive. Chairperson, I'm going to take your lead, and I have just a couple of slides. We're going to be brief, but at the same time, I'm going to try and give you the very seminal points to the presentation by the DPSA this morning. So we will give you some purpose and background. We would look at some of the reforms as catalysts, as my Deputy Minister has indicated, for professionalizing the public service. Pardon me, Chairperson, I'm battling a bit with the flu. Honorable Chairperson, the 5 pillars of the professionalization framework, the development relating to the implementation thereof, some monitoring tools, and conclusion. To provide an update then on how we are implementing the framework, directive, and related monitoring mechanisms, we also know, Honorable Chairperson, that the professionalization framework, our directives, and all efforts are designed to build a very capable, ethical, and developmental state. Throughout each of these instruments, we emphasize merit-based recruitment, ethical conduct, and culture of continuous learning and accountability. On the slide, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members and colleagues, we have dealt with previously in depth on the reforms as catalysts. I'm not then going to go into the subsections or the details, but just to say then on a very strategic level, we can group it up into 5, Honorable Chairperson, notwithstanding the fact that when we do professionalize a public service, there will be a number of reforms. But let's lift up, as I've indicated, some of those seminal information. 1, we must enhance efficiency and productivity by making sure we have competent personnel. There must be, number 2, better policy implementation. Policies are implemented effectively, and it is done so by public servants who are trained, who are knowledgeable. 3, making sure that we continue to strive to build our public trust and confidence in the public service, in public administration, and the services that we take to our people. Our citizens must have greater confidence in government institutions. 4, merit-based recruitment and promotion, where hiring, promotions, appointments are based on qualifications, but not alone, together with performance, together with conduct, together with ethical integrity, and the very many other standards, norms, and principles that we have discussed previously. Last then, one of the catalysts must be adaptability and innovation. Professionals must adapt to new challenges. We must integrate modern technologies. That's to give you just a high-level overview on what the reforms do and what the catalysts are about. Now, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, we have gone through the slide quite often, and this is a very popular one that you would see whenever we speak about the 5 crucial and critical pillars of our professionalization framework. We start off with recruitment and selection, and as we take steps forward, we look at induction and onboarding, planning and performance, continuous learning and professional development, career progression, some succession planning and management of career incidents of heads of departments as examples. And at the last step then, we must build a very professional and ethical public service. Now, at this point, what I could say, Honorable Chairperson, as we know, we have the public service, legislative and regulatory framework. We also have the professionalization framework itself, and then we have the directive. The role, the responsibility of the DPSA is to make sure that those directives are then implemented. We do have Volume 1 directive on HRM&D that we spoke about in February as well. We now have Volume 2, which is a draft volume in its final stages pending the National Council of Provinces and the processes that takes place there. Chairperson, this is important information, so I must share the information with the committee this morning so that I can provide you with an update as well. our public hearings from the DPSA on the Public Service Amendment Bill, on the Public Administration Management Bill, have gained great traction. Today, as an example, my team, some of my colleagues at Team DPSA, we are wrapping up the hearings in Ulundi. Now, on 26 June 2025, my minister, deputy minister, DG, and other colleagues, we will be meeting with the Select Committee on Cooperative Governance and Public Administration. And that meeting is to table or the tabling of the negotiating mandates. Subsequently, on 16 July 2025, we will meet again with the Select Committee. And then we will talk about the departmental responses to the negotiating mandates. According to the schedule of the Select Committee, this process then should come to an end on 30 July 2025, where we would close then with the consideration of the proposed amendments. Why it is important that I tell you this, Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson, is because once the NCOP processes have been completed, we will be ready as a department to issue then volume 2 of the directive. And volume 2, as an example, will focus more heavily on the induction, onboarding, and the next steps then in the process. So although volume 1 touches on most or all of the pillars, volume 2 concentrates more deeply on other areas of the work, which was pending amendment to the law. So I thought that is an important feedback to give to you. So let's talk about the directive and the updates then, Honorable Chairperson, starting from 1 April last year. So the directive was signed off in February 16th, 2024, and on 1 April 2024, it was implemented across national and provincial departments. We have already workshopped 157 national and provincial departments ending 31 March 2025. Now, Honorable Chairperson, what is important is that I want to describe this phase as an incubator phase. And it is important that we do this as the public service whenever we issue policy. The very purpose of issuing policy is so that we can have improvement. As an example, during this phase, there will be controlled testing for feasibility, operational impact, let's say potential unintended consequences. It will allow us to collect some empirical data and stakeholder feedback. We were able to also look at early risk mitigation, ownership to the end user being these departments. And it's important, Honorable Chairperson, that when we issue policy, that there must be iterative learning and innovation. So as Team DPSA, we would ask the key question, is this dynamic and responsive to the evolving context? So just about a year now, and let's say 2.5 months, to be a little bit more precise, where we've implemented the directive and we've already had these workshops and we've established this type of a data. Now then, we also, during the workshops, were able to have a shared understanding of what is the vision that the NDP as well as the framework on professionalizing seeks to achieve. How do we as government departments build momentum for system-wide compliance and impact? And then how do we make sure that this journey, Honorable Chairperson, is embedded in daily operations? It's not a one-time event, but it is something that must enable, as you have said, Honorable Chairperson, effective monitoring and accountability. So then, if we move to this financial year and our APP then, we again set ourselves a number of targets there. I want to reiterate this, Honorable Chairperson. I think this is important as I'm almost coming towards the end of my presentation. We met as the Presidency, the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, the National School of Government, and the Public Service Commission on the 3rd of June, where our sister department, the DPME, is assisting us to put together a monitoring tool that is embedded in the MTDP target, but also the annual performance target for the DPME. And all of us departments, in a very collaborative and in a very interdisciplinary manner, we have commenced work there and serious work is being done. But besides seeing and meeting and workshopping the 157 departments to make sure we have standardization, consistency, uniformity in the norms and standards across the public service, we also earlier met now this year, calendar year, Honorable Chairperson, to take the work of professionalizing beyond the public service. So earlier this year, we met with DCOC, starting again with capacity building at local levels, meaning local government, municipal levels, where we're having good discussions and deliberations and putting forward information packages, for the lack of a better word, where we can start off with capacitating. Another idea, or what I can bring to the committee as well, Honorable Chairperson, tomorrow, I will be meeting, well, my team and I, we will be meeting with 54 municipal managers at COCTA, KZN, where the capacity building now is capacity building in action. I'm not doing it alone. My colleagues from NSG, PSC, and even AGSA, I think, is going to be there. Moving on then, some of the important parts is over the MTDP, Honorable Chairperson. So this is being done over the MTDP, meaning a 5-year. For this year alone, it will be 80% framework implementation across departments. We will be assessing that. So we will take, let's say, 80% departments. We will assess that. We would look at certain norms and standards. Next year, as an example, we do the remainder 20% with a detailed analytical, synoptical overview report. We're looking at 75% of HODs who meet job requirements, experience qualifications. We're looking at 25% improvement in the tenure of Directors General. Let me pause there, Chairperson, because what is important here, this is only minimum standard. So by saying 80%, 75%, 25%, we use the SMART principles and make sure that it is measurable, but it's minimum. It doesn't mean that that is the end. Now, as an example, quickly, why would we want to track the tenure? We want to track their tenure, the type of analysis, empirical, non-empirical data that we're looking for to inform future strategy, policy development, improvement, would be things like to assess leadership stability. Let's call it institutional memory, to evaluate institutional continuity or business continuity, to inform decisions. Example, how should we pitch a succession planning and professionalization on very top strategic positions, and looking at current PMDS, and then how do we modernize that, just as an example. Zooming in then to some of the monitoring tools, as I've already indicated, DPME will put together for us, as the experts on monitoring and evaluation, the broader monitoring and evaluation tools on the MTDP, on the APP, insofar as all professionalization work across the DPSA and, NSG, PSC, and so on, so that we have a single report. What we're also aiming to do with these reports, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, is to make sure that we have what we would call a linear process, a very symmetrical and neat process insofar as making monitoring very easy to track. At departmental level, at DPSA level itself, we already have a central database. We already commenced for this financial year with tracking DGs, HODs, appointments against certain inherent job requirements. We're collecting that, analyzing that on tenure, seniority, compliance, looking at, stability instruments, institutional instruments, many operational things that's going on there, but not for today's discussion. Then we would report in the 4th quarter our findings, where we suggest improvement, and very importantly, consequence management. Consequence management must be recommended for non-compliant departments. And just to add to that as well, that all of this will culminate in reports then to the departments. We have two instruments very quickly, as you know, Honorable Chairperson. Section 16A, which gives the executive authority and DG the power for consequence management, and Section 16B, which then gives the DPSA the power then to recommend those consequence management. But in monitoring, in evaluating progress on the professionalization work, we have heard, Honorable Chairperson, from yourself and my Honorable DM that oversight is equally important, or paraphrased to mean oversight is equally important. So we are working exceptionally close with the heads of corporate services, governance, state capacity, institutional development cluster, Forum of South African Directors General FOSID, with yourselves, Honorable Chairperson, as our portfolio committee for public service and administration cabinet as well, for example, on our CAB appointments. And what is important here for me to also feed back. So let me give you a loop back, Honorable Chairperson. Yesterday, I chaired the heads of corporate services meeting. And as you know, this is my triology presentation at the portfolio committee today. The first one we discussed ghost employees. Last week we discussed youth, today professionalizing. And all of the critical information that was given through the portfolio committee, we made sure that it reaches around 280 of our heads of corporate services. So that can be filtered through department. As an example, when we spoke about jail time, consequence management, and so on and so forth. And Chairperson, in conclusion, I'm not going to repeat what I said because, you know, that's just concluding my presentation. But I must thank you, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, Honorable Deputy Minister, and colleagues on the platform for indulging me once again. I thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. We then move on to the presentation by the National School of Government.
Thank you very much, Chair. We really appreciate it. We will begin with our presentation from the National School of Government, which will be led by Ms. Faith Nyaka, to share with the committee the progress that we have made with regards to the implementation of the framework, but also some of the plans that we have going forward, including, as the Chair indicated, monitoring and evaluation tools that are necessary for us to be able to guide and to know if we're making a difference in the implementation of the framework. So we'll share that information with you, Chair, and then we'll be open to questions at the end. Thank you very much, Ms. Nyaka.
Thank you, Dr. Wuchabelo, and good morning to the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, to our Deputy Minister and the honorable members. I'm going to share the presentation of the National School of Government, as the DDG has indicated. I'm going to skip some of the slides. The first slide is our overview of the presentation. We are going to highlight what we are expected to do in terms of the applicability of the framework, the progress, how our work aligns with the medium-term development plan, and also the NSG monitoring and evaluation strategy for the implementation of this framework. Here I'm highlighting the key areas of the mandate of the NSG in terms of our training, also collaboration, and also to make sure that we conduct examination and tests that we're supposed to do, and also the work that we are going to do in the three spheres of government, the legislative sector, and also all organs of state. The framework is based on Section 195 of the Constitution of the country, because currently this is the key legislation that talks about public administration and give reference to all spheres of government. In so saying is that the framework is applicable to all spheres of government, including your military, the police, the state security, your traditional leaders. The framework, I'm not going to dwell on this because my colleague from DPSA has already indicated it has the 5 pillars, and that's what we are also working on. In this slide, I'm trying to highlight the key work that the NSG was expected to do in terms of the progress, Pillar 1. We had one Nyukela for the whole public service. Your senior management services were writing the Nyukela. When they approved the framework, we requested to ensure that we separate the Nyukelas according to the levels of SMS, because the work done by the director differs from what your DG would do in a department. What we have done up to date is that the NSG has already separated. We have 3 forms of Nyukela. There's Nyukela 13 and 14, which we finalized in the period 2023-2024. We have developed and piloted it already. Nyukela 15 and 16, we have finalized it in 2025-26, and then we are in a process of piloting this Nyukela. And the Nyukela for middle management, this Nyukela has been developed and piloted, and I'll give the progress in the next slides because it affects lower levels, which we need to ensure that we engage labor. So this is the roadmap towards full implementation of this Nyukela. The colleague from DPSA has indicated the issue of 80% implementation of the framework by mid-term of this medium-term development plan, and 100% should be implemented by the end of the term. So in terms of how the NSG is going to do that, you will see that for MMS Nyukela, middle management Nyukela, this is an exam for pre-entry before they appoint you in the public service. We are training public servants to teach them about what they're expected to do in leadership, even in middle management, and also in terms of the legislative framework of government, and also compliance matters. So the MMS has been finalized, has been piloted successfully. We have written a letter to DPSA so that they can lead the engagement with labor so that this MMS can be implemented. And we are also going to await for the DPSA to issue a directive for implementation. And the Nyukela for SMSSF indicated for the higher level, we have already implemented that. We are going to roll out this Nyukela now to the other state entities. As I've said, this the framework affects all the entire public service. We are going to roll over Nyukela in local government. We have planned for local government 2026-2027. That's where the Nyukela will be implemented. And the Nyukela for SOEs is planned for 2027 to 2028, and the security cluster 28 to 2029. And Nyukela for staff appointed into political offices and advisors has already been implemented. In terms of the induction, the red means we are still going to implement. The green means the NSG has already implemented. We have already implemented the induction for boards of entities, and we are already implementing the reorientation program for those public servants who are already in the system, because that induction was targeting people who are entering the public sector. So in the framework, they indicated that we need to make sure that we also reorientate serving public servants. That is also in progress. Then this 2026 to 2027 is aligned. We have linked this, the training for induction with the Nyukelas, so that when we implement Nyukela for SOEs, even the induction program for the executives will kick on. Same with the security cluster. When the Nyukela, that site is implemented in 2027-28, we also kick in the induction program. What is key is that this compulsory induction should happen within 90 days after appointment, so that we capacitate them, so that they don't find themselves wanting or in problems in the public sector, not knowing how to implement the legislation, this legislative framework. And here we are trying to indicate that in terms of Pillar 2, the induction for the executives, this prepares the newly appointed executives in terms of their strategic role, their ethical, strategic, and also to make sure that they are accountable and also align with the constitutional development mandates. And also it touches a lot of your public finance management, how they need to deal with cabinet protocols, intergovernment relations, and also to comply with all the legislative mandates. The NSG also provide executive coaching and peer exchange elements for these executives. And for boards of members, we have already implemented, as I've indicated, we try to capacitate those boards of entities in terms of their fiduciary duties, their governance roles, accountability, how they should be competent, and also to make sure that they contribute to a capable and development state. And it's also critical that we also touch issues of your PFMA and matters of governance and oversight of those entities that they are leading. That's also discussed. And we offer this, we make sure that we are able to interact with them. We do a virtual and also in person. They go online and study, and later we have them in a session, and we make sure that it is very practical. And these are some of the examples of the boards of entities that we have already trained. It's not exhaustive, but we have trained most of these boards. In terms of Pillar 4, that's where most of the work of the NSG is going to lie. And in terms of Pillar 4, in terms of strengthening our work, we are expected to partner with professional bodies, higher education institutions, and other bodies that can help us to capacitate the state. As we know that we have more than 1.2 million of public servants that the NSG is responsible to deal with. So what we have done, we are dealing with issues of curriculum collaboration when we work with professional bodies to make sure that we co-design curriculum, to make sure that where area of expertise is lacking in government, we work with the professional bodies so that we can be able to tap on that. We do trainer capacitation with professional bodies to make sure that we have specific designed programs that are targeted to improve certain skills. If you remember that in Pillar 4, we have identified the key professions that we need to professionalize. So those professional bodies in those key professions, those are the ones that I'm referring to here. And also our training programs, we have made sure that we do them online, and then also we are able to reach many people as possible. We also have webinars and masterclasses that we are jointly arranging with professional bodies. And the outcome is that those public servants who are attending are going to get CPD points, which are going also to be recognized by those professional bodies. They are also accrediting and recognizing some of our programs and qualifications so that when public servants are doing them, then they get recognition to get those CPD points. And also we conduct workshops and in collaboration with those professional bodies. These are some of the work that we have done with the professional bodies. You'll see that we have also done the economic governance in Africa, where we professionalize also the executive in collaboration with other African countries. And the NSG is also training elected officials and executive in those countries. And in terms of this AI leadership practical guides, it's a webinar that we conducted in collaboration with the professional bodies where the public servants who attend are getting their CPD points. And we also invite, our webinars are managed by experts. NSG invites experts who are part of the school to make sure that they train in critical skills. We have already signed MOUs with the professional bodies as expected by the framework. We have already designed implementation plans with them on how we are going to professionalize in the various spaces of the professions. You will see that the one for CIPS, it's for your procurement, your supply chain management. SAMIA, it's for your MNEs. SAPAM, it's for the public sector. Specifically, we've signed with internal auditors, CBE for the built environment, and also for the ICT professionals we have already signed, and also for the one for HR management. We have also signed those MOUs with them, and we have plans in place in terms of how we are going to professionalize the public sector. We also had signed partnerships with Microsoft, NEMISA, Centec. The purpose is to make sure that we work towards digitizing, working towards digital transformation of the public sector. We have already programs that we have designed in terms of that. We have foresight and scenario planning. design thinking, and digital transformation for the public sector. And we're working with this institution, especially NEMISA, where the public service does not have programs to deliver. NEMISA has a suite of programs that we are going to use, and in collaboration, and also tap on the external, on their expertise to make sure that we professionalize the public service in the area of digital transformation. So in terms of the NSG programs, in line with the framework, we have reviewed our programs to make sure that we open alternative ways to make sure that public servants are able to get, we are sort of a one-stop stop to get the programs. We have redesigned our pathways. Our programs are no longer only short courses. We are working on skills programs to make sure that we capacitate public servants, support the DPSA in Pillar 1 and also Pillar 2 and Pillar 4. You'll see that it's also for induction and for pre-entry, and that's where your Nugela comes in, and also your Pillar 4 in terms of the skills gaps that are going to be identified and that we have already identified. We also have professional programs to upskill the public service and also bespoke programs in Pillar 4. We have added academic qualifications to ensure that we professionalize in Pillar 4 and 5, and also occupational qualification to support the DPSA. You'll remember that DPSA has been coming to Portfolio Committee to account about public servants who do not have qualifications, who are in the system, senior managers, because of the changes on the NQF. So we are going to close that void, because those public servants who have been taking programs for the NSG, from the NSG, will now have access to RPL processes and will be able to get full qualifications from the NSG. I'll speak deeper on that in detail in the next slides. So in terms of making sure that we align our offerings with the medium-term strategic plan, I'm not going to read the programs. You see, we have listed the programs that are there at the NSG to make sure that we support various departments to make sure that we are able to drive inclusive growth and job creation. We capacitate them in that area with strategic priority to reduce poverty and tackle high cost of living. We do have programs that are ready to make sure that we're going to support and also capacitate public servants. And with priority 3, which is our core, building a capable and ethical development state, we do have programs which are going to be added in line with the needs of the departments as they request the training. Here in Pillar 4, the medium-term development plan specifically for grounds what needs to happen in local government. We have partnered with COGTA and also in collaboration with SALGA. We are, as NSG, working on developing programs to make sure that the capacity building happening there, and also with National Treasury. We have targeted 2025-26 Q2. We'll be delivering. Currently, we do have some suites of programs, but we are building other suites of programs, finance program for local government, and also another supply chain management program for local government, which is also going to be released in Q4. That's our target. The emphasis here is to make sure that we capacitate them in public finance, supply chain management, ethics, governance, risk and management, and compliance. And these, the NSG, normally our programs are custom made, because we look at what are the problems in the country and how are we going to make sure that we deal with we design programs that are going to be an intervention. The AG reports will also be looked at to make sure that we address the problems, and specifically for those particular local government where there are serious problems. We also have Kaedu. Kaedu is a program that we have that is very practical. Once we have trained these people in the local government, we take them through a process of Kaedu where they practically implement what we have trained them. They identify projects, and then NSG go back to check in terms of whether those areas that have been identified have been addressed or not through our M&E, which I'll speak to that. And also ethics is one of the programs that we have customized to make sure that we talk about ethics in local government, to make sure that we also look at case studies that are addressing the problems that are happening in local government. In terms of the partnerships, we've already partnered with higher education institutions, which I'm not going to mention there. They are already supporting the NSG training on our integrated management development program. And I can say these are your key programs that are very popular in the public service. And most of the employees who have done, public servants who have done these programs, are designed following the NQF requirements, are similar to mostly to qualification, but the difference with us is that they are very practical in nature and they speak to real problems of the public sector. And also we do have ethics management for local government, and we also have a program that we are working with, partnered with the Tshwane University of Technology, a postgrad diploma in African governance, which I'll also speak to it in the last slide. Pillar 4, also, we're looking at ensuring that we capacitate the executives within the public sector, your senior managers. We have come up with a program for execution diligence for public officials. And we see it as a game-changing approach because we want to make sure that we capacitate them beyond individual capacity, looking to make an impact for institutions so that once public servants, leaders are trained, are capacitated, they're able to diligently execute their roles within the institution. And that impact can be measured in terms of the instruments that I'm going to speak to later. So pillar 5 is the last pillar, which speaks to career progression and career incidence. Here, as I've indicated, we are looking at moving towards making sure that Nyukela is taken to another level. In the framework, we have given examples of countries like your Singapore, your China, and your India, that these people are subjected to an examination, which is a requirement for entry and also for promotion to senior management positions. NSG is working on a concept to say, how are we going to make sure that we move this Nyukela to be just an entry, but to be a requirement to make sure that we redesign it to be similar and comparable to those other countries. We are planning to come and present about that later, but the implementation can start from 2030. The qualifications that were coming up to support the public sector, I've listed them there. They start from level 5 to level 8 at the moment. And we believe that because we are giving them practical and also things that they're actually struggling with on a day-to-day basis. These are not academic qualifications, professional and occupational qualifications that are aligned to the work of the public servants that we are going to introduce. And this slide is linked to the review of the RPL policies in the country, where DPSA works with SALGA and also an NSG and other core departments like DHEAD, where they are reviewing the whole architecture of RPL in the country to make sure that they provide for RPL for recruitment in the public sector, which the DPSA is going to lead, and the NSG is going to be the RPL Assessment Center for government. So for us to prepare ourselves to have this qualification, you can't RPL if you don't have qualifications. So we are working to make sure that we are going to support DPSA to make sure that this reality is going to be achieved. In terms of skills audit, the NSG and the Human Science Research Council were requested by the President to conduct skills audit in your infrastructure and service delivery departments. We have finalized the skills audit. We have identified the skills gaps and the problems within those departments. I'm not going to read all of them there. We have highlighted them in the slide there to say the NSG now has a responsibility to make sure that we come up with custom-made programs to make sure that we are going to capacitate the departments and the public sector in terms of making sure that we make sure that those skills or the competencies of those public servants are improved. So this is going to fit into our pillar 4 to make sure that also these programs are done and we are also capacitating. The last part speaks about how are we going to ensure that we monitor the NSG professionalization intervention. We are playing 2 roles here. As an NSG, we are expected also to design certain programs to make sure that we put interventions to professionalize. We also have a responsibility to make sure that there's compliance in terms of departments, to make sure that they comply, to make sure that they send lists to their employees for induction, also for Nyukela and so forth. We'll report in terms of that. So in terms of our plan, we're looking at our monitoring to make sure that we are going to make sure that it's evidence-based and there's improvement, and we're looking at impact, and also that there is accountability in terms of state funds. So in this slide, I'm listing the approach that the NSG is going to follow in terms of making sure that we are going to professionalize the approach for M&E. The first layer in the first slide there, our strategic plans and also our organizational reporting processes and our APP are core in terms of that, because we have aligned our strat plan and APP to the medium-term strategic goals. So which means that all the areas that we need to deal with in the framework are going to be reported through this. That's our first phase. The second part there is in terms of internally in the NSG, what are we doing? We also have our own internal project plan to monitor the work that needs to be done by the colleagues to make sure that we achieve the layer one. And also in terms of the last part there, we have a dedicated unit at the NSG in the third part, which is outcome and impact. Those are responsible for designing tools that are aligned to the DPME to make sure that they measure the implementation, impact, and outcome in terms of what we intended to do. They are also going to play an important part. And the last part there will be reporting through GSCAT, as the DPSA has indicated. We have a forum where we meet and discuss and report in terms of the implementation, which is led by the DPSA and the DPME. And here, the other strategy that we are bringing, we are saying that the impact and the outcome and impact chief directorate that is responsible for monitoring and evaluation of NSG program is very critical in this era. We have had the areas, they've been doing this work, they have to tailor-make their instruments and their monitoring and evaluation instruments to make sure that they speak to the framework in terms of what are the aims, what were the objectives in terms of us doing that. We're no longer going to report only on numbers in Nukela. We're also going to report in terms of what are the outcomes. Why are we giving these public servants Nukela? Why are we giving them our induction program? So those instruments are going to speak to that when we come to report to the portfolio committee and other structures. Also, the collaboration with professional bodies, they need to make sure that that also is evaluated. Is there any impact that we are making, and what is it that we are doing? Is the value? Is it going to make us to improve that skills and competences of public servants, and is that going to be translated to improve service delivery? That is also going to give you a status in terms of what is happening in the public service. And we also have here in terms of the process how they are going to do it. We want to make sure that after we have evaluated, we enhance our program effectiveness. And we are going to assess the programs against the achievements and objectives and outcomes. We are also going to provide data to make sure that the reports that we produce are evidence-based. And this data that we are going to collect is going to help this NSG to make sure that we make better decisions in terms of improving the competencies of public servants. The model that we are using and the approach for evaluation, it's a hybrid. We're looking at Kirkpatrick 4-level training evaluation model for M&E activities in collaboration with the Brackenford success case study models, and also in using also the theory of change. This is it's an integrated approach that we are taking as the NSG. This will inform various types of evaluation. We'll also do design evaluation, implementation evaluation, and also impact and outcome evaluation, so that we are able to make sure that we use different types of evaluation instruments at various stages of the implementation of the framework to be able to give reports in terms of the progress. This is the model of the Kirkpatrick evaluation, which is core, that is going to be integrated with other models. In level 1 and level 2, this will happen. We have control of this. We are going to check how did participants react to the training that we are giving in terms of all the interventions that we are giving, and whether the interventions results in increasing knowledge and skills and attitudes of these public servants. And here the NSG does have control at this 2 level because we'll get that information directly from the participants and also in the training places. But when it goes to level 3 and level 4, this is outside our scope. We'll have to collaborate with other departments because we want to monitor, therefore evaluate for impact if whatever that the NSG has done, is it yielding the results that we are looking at. So here we'll be at level 3, we're looking at observation of teamwork behaviors at the workplace, whether participants' behaviors are changing back at the workplace after the training, which means the departments must collaborate to make sure that they allow participants to implement what they have been trained about. And the last part of level 4, that's where we get the results, and that's where we measure that impact, whether there is satisfaction in terms of our customers or clients that the departments are giving service, and also in terms of the staff satisfaction surveys can be used, process and practices changes, whether this training has affected processes or outcomes, or whether there's been increase in production or service delivery. Those are some of the things in the reports that we are going to present that are coming from this evaluation. We are also using the OECD evaluation criteria to monitor the interventions for professionalization. Those are going to help us to look at the relevance, whether the interventions that we are putting in place, trying to make sure that we implement the framework, are they doing the right thing? Are our interventions effective? Are they going to help in achieving those objectives that are set in the framework? Are we going to make any impact? Is there going to be any difference before and after we have made the intervention? When we go after, are the departments going to report that they see improved service delivery? Are the clients also going to say they are happy in terms of the service that they are receiving from the public service? Also, there should be coherence. We're going to measure that. How well are the intervention fit for purpose? Are we actually improving efficiency in the department? Are these interventions going to help us to sustain in terms of the work that we are doing? And the last part, Chair, we are looking at the data collection. We are going to use all these models to collect data, your interviews, your observations, focus group questionnaires, so that we are able to give accurate data in terms of how we are going to report in terms of evaluating the implementation of our interventions. And then we are going to use a number of things that I'm not going to read. I'm looking at the time. You have presentations. Our data will be qualitative and quantitative data, where we explain the numbers and why things are happening and why things are not happening the way we have intended, because data doesn't lie. It tells us exactly what is actually happening. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much to the National School of Government. We then have our last presentation from the AGSA. Please proceed.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning to the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Deputy Minister, the Principal, the team from DPSA, AGSA, and NSG. My name is Nomkhangaza Ndlovu, and I'll be leading the team from the Office of the Auditor-General. We'd like to thank the Portfolio Committee for the invite for us to come and just give an update in terms of the compliance with the directive and also the framework of the Professionalisation Framework. May I then switch off the video with your permission, Chair, before we proceed? Thank you.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, no, thank you so much, Chair. So as the AGSA, we realize that the professional public service does play a critical role in fulfilling the constitutional commitment to social justice, economic transformation, and service delivery. The professionalization of the public sector is not just a good governance practice, but it is also constitutional imperatives, and public servants are duty-bound to ensure that policies aimed at reducing inequality, poverty, and unemployment are effectively implemented so that the government does live up to the democratic values and principles as enshrined in Section 195 of the Constitution. The AGSA has, through its work over the years, advocated for the professionalization of the public sector in the broadest possible sense, viewing it as a unique opportunity for constructive change, given the persistent challenges in improving the uneconomic use of resources, lack of accountability, and transparency, which negatively impacts the lived experiences of South African services. It also hinders economic growth, erodes public trust, and weakens service delivery to citizens, particularly to the most vulnerable in the society. The framework on professionalization of the public sector aims to elevate the standards of South African public sector by ensuring public servants across all spheres of government possess the right qualifications, technical skills, and ethical behaviors required for effective service delivery. We do commend the hard work of the Ministry of Public Service and Administration, DPSA, NSG, and also PSC in getting the framework developed and approved. And also, Honorable Chair, you will see that as the AGSA, we have a very bold strategy, which is to shift public sector culture. And we view the professionalization framework as one of those critical levers that will actually move the public sector into ensuring that the service delivery to the citizens of South Africa is actually delivered in a professional, efficient, and timely manner. So really by focusing on building a professional, ethical, and capable public administration, the framework does lay a solid foundation for achieving the goals of the 2030 National Development Plan. The dedication to improving recruitment processes, fostering continuous learning, and improving ethical behavior amongst public servants is particularly noteworthy. These initiatives demonstrate a strong commitment to creating a public sector that can effectively serve the needs of the South African people, ensuring transparency, accountability, and a high-performance culture. Chairperson, you did indicate that as the portfolio committee, one of your priorities is to actually ensure that the framework is well implemented, but also not the implementation, that there are also clear monitoring and evaluation tools. And as such, because now the directive was issued last year from the 1st of April 2024, it was effective from then, and it will then form part of our auditing compliance for the current year that we are reviewing. So for the year ended 31st of March 2025, this will be the first year that we would be auditing compliance to the directive. And as the presenter from DPSA has indicated, that they're really viewing this as an incubator phase. So this will give us a really great insight to see how far have the different departments aligned to the directive. And then we'll also be able to come back to the portfolio committee during the BRRR to actually then report in terms of what it is that the AGSA has picked up from the audit of compliance with the first directive of the framework. So with those opening remarks, Honorable Chair, if I may just hand over to my colleague, Mojalefa, who will then take us through the presentation. Thank you.
Morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, and Honorable Deputy Minister and colleagues on call. Honorable Chair, Nomthandazo has actually, touched on, the biggest scheme of things in terms of what is the purpose or our aim as the Auditor General when it comes to the professionalization. And colleagues have really spoken to some of the critical issues in terms of insights that we have gathered as the AG, that they have also mentioned in their, presentation. It gave me, goosebumps when I heard some of the colleagues talk about collaboration, when they talk about, influence and stakeholders that they have to interact with. And that made me realize that as the AG, we are actually, on the right track when it comes to influence. Honorable Chair, our strategic aspiration as the Auditor General is that over the next years, we will make stronger, more direct and consistent impact on the lived reality of ordinary South Africans by sustainably and efficiently shifting the public sector culture through insights, through the influence and enforcement powers that we have. We strongly believe that an important driver of state's capability to deliver on quality services is to have a capable ethical state, as the colleagues have already mentioned. So we have divided, some of the key action plans that we'll have into 4 themes, from the Auditor General being the first theme, talks about the influence of key stakeholders that we have already identified. Some of the members have spoken to some of these key stakeholders, including Treasury, including the DPME, including COCTA. So we are going to have insights, as Nomthandazo has said, to say we are going to perform some of the audit procedures with the aim of gathering insights in terms of implementation of the professionalization framework, in terms of some of the hindering factors and challenges that may be, faced by government in implementing, the framework itself. We are going to also share insights in terms of some of the gaps that we would have identified through the framework itself that, require improvement. And such insights will then be shared with management, including government, including all the provincial and national departments, and more especially the coordinating institutions, including the likes of DPSA, including the likes of COCTA, and key role players within the ecosystem. Honorable Chair, as Nomthandazo has indicated, we are going to also look at Volume 1 of the directive in terms of its implementation. This is also as part of the effort to, play a collaborative and proactive, partnership with government in terms of assessing the implementation of this framework and this Volume 1 that has been issued by the DPSA that is effective from the 1st of April. We are going to look at all the national departments. We are also going to look at all the provincial departments in terms of, implementation, and also gathering insights where there's instances of non-implementation of this framework. Also gathering insights in terms of challenges when it comes to the implementation of Volume 1, and thus sharing that with the DPSA colleagues, and also sharing that with the key implementers of the professionalization framework. Honorable Chair, we also play, as part of Theme 3, advocacy for the professionalization of the public sector. We have mentioned that the AGSA is committed to advocating for the professionalization of the public sector by leveraging the PFMA and the MFMA general reports. We will also give such insights through the BRRR to raise awareness about the significance and positive impact it has on the service delivery. We will also, also through engagements, public engagements, including thought leadership sessions, the AGSA aims to educate stakeholders on the critical role of professionalization in enhancing the government effectiveness. The AGSA actively submits, comments on draft documents, even documents that are also finalized, as I've indicated, that will also look at the framework itself and identify some of the gaps. So we also submit recommendations, insights, and our own comments when it comes to such documents. And in empowering key stakeholders, Honorable Chair, through this sharing, the insights that we would have gathered, we will also share applicable recommendations where there is a need for recommendations to be provided, where we notice deviations within the framework, itself, where there isn't any implementations, or where there are challenges and gaps that the audit process would have identified. We will then empower key stakeholders, with recommendations to remedy any situations that would have been faced. Honorable Chair, I will not also go through the key aspects within the themes, and I will take the slides as read. But what is also very important for me that I would like to emphasize on is on the call for action. The call for action is to strengthen intergovernmental relations. What we have realized is that although there is a framework that is in place, and there's the willingness to implement the framework itself, we continuously encourage that we need to strengthen intergovernmental relations to ensure that effective implementation and monitoring of professionalization framework. It is essential to enhance intergovernmental relations among all departments, so that we avoid a situation where there is silo working within the government spheres, where ideas can actually be shared amongst departments, and challenges can be shared, so that we can reach the common goal of implementation of the framework itself. We are also advocating for consequence management by the executive authorities, where there is a slow uptake, or where there isn't any implementation of frameworks or directives that are supporting the implementation of the framework itself. And a call to action to the portfolio committee The portfolio committee should consider expanding their engagements to include additional key stakeholders essential for the successful implementation of the framework, including the National Treasury, the Department of Cooperative and Traditional Affairs, DPME, the Presidency, and the Department of Higher Education and Training, among others. This expansion will enhance oversight of National Professionalization Framework's implementation, establishing professionalization as a priority for government and accountability across all levels and sectors. So we are encouraging that the conversation, Honorable Chair, should not only be limited to the PSA portfolio, but to also engage where possible other portfolio committees and actually sit around a table just to share ideas in terms of how we can actually get everyone on board to drive this, because we each have a role to play when it comes to the implementation of professionalization. And also what is of key is the finalization of the legislative reforms. There is an urgent need, Honorable Chair, to finalize the reforms of the necessary legislation to enable the implementation of all spheres of government, when it comes to the reforms that are in place to support the implementation of the framework. There is an urgent need for us to finalize as such. Honorable Chair, I'm going to leave it here with the understanding that the information that has been shared with the committee has been read, and we can take any questions from here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members and presenters, we welcome all of the presentations, and we really do commend all the efforts that are being made across departments for the establishment of a professional merit-based public service that will serve all South Africans. So we really do welcome the presentations, and I will now hand over to members for deliberations, and I will take hands as I see them raised on the platform in that order. And then we will start. I think I've got Honorable Potgieter's hand first. So Honorable Potgieter, you can start us off. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chair. Just a very quick one. I'd just like to know when we'd be able to have access to or sight of the audits that the AG's office mentions. They talk about the directive that became effective from the 1st of April 2024, and that they're busy testing compliance. And a number of audits are being done in order to ensure that the successful implementation of the professionalisation initiatives. When can we as a committee start seeing those audits from the AG? Thanks.
Honourable Kaba. Honourable Kaba, you are welcome.
Honourable Chairperson. Greeting to you, Chair, and honourable members in the platform, all department, honourable Deputy Minister and the Minister in his absentia. Chairperson, let me close my video because the network is bad where I am. Chair, let me welcome all presentation that has presented before us. And they are well and good. Chairperson, I have just few questions in the DPSA as well as National School of Government and the AG. Chairperson, in the DPSA, my question is that in their last quarter's annual performance plan, the department has promised that the professionalization framework will be implemented in local government. Now, Chairperson, how far is the department in this regard? The second one, Chairperson, the presentation alludes that 150 national and provincial departments were in a workshop for the last financial year, but not mention entities that are crucially for a progressive and development state. What criteria does the department use to workshop with its stakeholders. Chair, in the national schools of government, amongst the national schools of government, compulsory modules for Nukela certificate. Why does the professional framework form part of this module to enforce this competency? Does the national schools of government have its internally monitoring system or ME unity to monitor the implementation of this framework? If yes, what tool do they use? Chair, the presentation, Chair, I forgot which one because they are too much. The presentation that mentioned that they have skill audit for 2 departments, which is water and sanitation and public works. Chairperson, when are they going to include the other department? Or the other department, they did come on board to bring their staff officials to the schools of government, Chairperson. If yes, why they are not being audited, their skills? Because we have many department, Chairperson, that you can find that there is a lack of professionalization here. Many of them, the list is endless. I cannot even start, because if I can start, I can start about the home affairs, and social development, and etc. Why did those departments come on board to put their staff and officials in these schools so that their workers, they will be professionalized? And the last one, Chair, is the Auditor-General. Last, Chair, you remember, Chair, you recall, Chair, that last there was a presentation from the department says they have a frustration of ghost workers that are getting money from the department, but they are not seen. They are not seen. They are not a tangible thing that you can touch. My question to the Auditor-General: when was the Auditor-General in those issues? Because we have an Auditor-General that must look at each and every dot that is happening in our department in South Africa. I'm asking because the Auditor-General have the skills and the capacity to audit each and every smaller things. What was the Auditor-General saying in these ghost employees? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kalise.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to the Deputy Minister and all my colleagues on the platform and everyone who's in the meeting. Maybe, Chair, let me start with the presentation by AGSA. The presentation fails, Chair, to address economic transformation. I think that's one of the things I need to raise, that it fails to address the economic transformation and how, in fact, dismantling of the apartheid era structures in the public sector. I think their approach seems to be ignoring the systematic inequalities and the need, Chair, to to address the historical imbalances. It is my view, Chairperson, that the focus on compliance and enforcement may not address the root causes of corruption and inefficiency, such as political interference and the lack of political will. So I think we need punitive measures against corrupt officials and stronger political accountability. I see in the document mentions consequence management, but it lacks the specifics on how corrupt or incompetent officials will be held accountable or who will be dealt with. And I think these are the things that we raise in this meeting, that they're not held accountable. So maybe we can perhaps be provided with the clear examples of disciplinary actions taken against non-compliant officials. And we need some transparency in reporting these cases. And I see that the AGSA framework, but it does not link professionalism to priorities like nationalization of key industries, even the land expropriation without compensation. But true public sector reforms must address economic justices alongside these administrative efficiency. So I want to know, Chair, how will this framework ensure that the money reaches poor communities? In other words, how will the professionalization stop the corruption where officials, we know of officials even in municipalities, they steal money meant for service delivery? So maybe they can clarify how this framework of theirs will ensure that the money that will put a stop to corruption and the money that is meant for service delivery is used for such. And maybe for the National School of Government, I think I raised this in our last meeting. There seems to be a lot of elitist focus on senior officials while the lower workers are neglected. NSG programs, they seem to be targeting senior managers and political appointees while they are neglecting the frontline workers. There's no plan for mass skills here, Chairperson, the mass skill development. So the presentation lacks the concrete strategies to absorb like millions of unemployed graduates into the public sector. In my view, Chair, the presentation is very vague on corruption and consequence management as well. Yes, it mentions the ethics training, but there's no evidence of disciplinary actions against the corrupt officials. And I think there's over-reliance on private partnerships instead of using the state resources to build internal capacity. We raise this all the time as the EFF Chairperson. And I don't know why, I was in a meeting with the Communication Portfolio Committee on Communications, and we had state entities, about 5 state entities, who were presenting to us in that meeting. And all of them are over-relying on private sector, on the partnership with private sector. And I don't know if there is a consolidated effort to sell our state to private, to private sector. There's over-reliance. No one ever sits and think, why are we not using the state resources to build internal capacity? We're not building internal capacity. We always want to outsource. And this is why that this government is corrupt, because this outsourcing is a result of this corruption, because then you appoint, there is no clear procurement processes, and then there is these tenders that are given to friends of politicians and all of that. So even here, there is over-reliance on partnerships instead of using the state resources to build internal capacity. I think NSG must just build internal capacity. The report we want presented in front of us is how they are planning to build internal capacity. They must capacitate themselves. And maybe the last one, Chair, what happens to officials who fails the ethics training. There's an official in Mpumalanga who attended the SNG, but still stole COVID funds. You know, what happens to those people? We want to know that. And maybe the last one, I know I said the last one, NSG is partnering with Microsoft instead of training public IT staff to fix these e-government systems. Again, you know, they always want people from the outside, but they're leaving people inside, incapacitated, others without a job, because you want to always go outside and outsource the services when you can train the people, train the IT staff, capacitate them instead of wanting to run and partner with people like Microsoft instead of I don't know. It just really doesn't make sense to me, and it is something, it's one of the things that just frustrate me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Langa, I think you are next in line. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to the fellow portfolio committee members, the Deputy Minister, the DG, the DPSA, the NSG, and the Auditor-General leadership on the platform. And also greetings to our forever hardworking support staff led by the Secretary Mastlole. Chair, I'll try and be brief in the interest of time, as we had requested, since we have to make our way to the City ICC for the budget debate. Maybe I'll start with the comments to the DPSA before the questions. Or maybe before that, Chair, let me welcome the presentation by DPSA through Dr. Anusha. I love that woman's energy. The NSG, I think it was through Faith, I didn't quite get the surname, and the Auditor General, I think it was Miss Ndlovu and the other gentleman. So, Chair, on the comments to DPSA, the DPSA's, I think, structured and ambitious approach, especially the immediate rollout of workshops across the departments. I think it's 157 departments. And the integration of monitoring tools is commendable. This proactive engagement fosters a culture of compliance and also a shared vision, setting a strong foundation for long-term institutional change. And also, while the current monitoring tools effectively track the quantitative progress and also incorporating periodic independent evaluations or peer reviews could enhance the assessment of ethical standards and qualitative impact, ensuring the framework does not become a compliance box-ticking exercise, but remains transformative. Now, to the questions that I have, the few questions that I have, the forever energetic Dr. Anusha. How does the DPSA plan to ensure the sustainability of the professionalization framework beyond the initial 5-year MTDP reporting period, particularly in maintaining institutional memory and momentum amid possible leadership changes? And also, what specific measures are in place to support the departments that fail to meet the 80% implementation target or the 75% qualification threshold, in particular for the HODs beyond the consequence management? And the last one for DPSA, and how will the DPSA measure qualitative aspects of professionalization, such as ethical conduct and service delivery outcomes, alongside the quantitative targets outlined in the monitoring tools? Then to Auditor-General, I think comments there. Also start with the comments on the holistic approach. AGSA's fourth theme, which is influence, audit, advocacy, and insight sharing, presents a comprehensive and a proactive model for driving public sector professionalization. The explicit alignment of the culture shift aspiration with the National Professionalisation Framework is particularly strategic, ensuring AGSA leverages its unique mandate effectively beyond traditional compliance auditing to foster systematic cultural change. This multi-pronged approach significantly strengthens its role as an influential strategic partner. And then also to few questions that I had for them. I think it's more for clarification. I think there's somewhere where the document mentions on the presentation developing a professionalization maturity index. I think it was on page 7 as a key measurable outcome. Maybe if AGSA could elaborate on the specific indicators or benchmarks and timeline proposed for developing and implementing this index across all spheres of government. Let me maybe stop there for now, Chair, so that I give my colleagues also an opportunity, because I had quite a few, but in the interest of time, maybe let me rather pause there. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Langa. Honorable Malinga, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Let me greet you, Chair, and our whip, the members of the Portfolio Committee, our DM, and all spokespersons from different departments. Due to the time, Chair, let me go straight to the questions. Let me start with welcoming all the presentation from different departments. Maybe let me start with DPSA to manage the time, Chair. I just want to check that what concrete steps has the DPSA taken to ensure that the professionalism framework is not only implemented, but also integrated into recruitment, training, and performance management system across all spheres of government. The second one, Chair, is how is the DPSA addressing the skills gap within the public service, particularly in critical and scarce skills areas, and what role do partnership with higher education institutions play in this process? The last one, Chair, to DPSA will be, how will the DPSA monitor and evaluate progress in professionalism, the public service, and that indicators will be used, and what indicators will be used to measure improvement in service delivery as a result? Due to the time, Chair, let me go straight to NSG. What specific training programs or curriculum has the NSG developed to align with the professionalism framework, and how are these being tailored to meet the needs of different levels of public servants? And the second one, Chair, is how is the NSG ensuring that the delivery of training support ethical leadership, technical competence, and the culture of accountability across the public service? Chair, let me go to Auditor General, because I just want to take only 2 minutes. From the Auditor General perspective, what are the most common weaknesses in public service performance that the professionalization framework seek to address, and how are these reflecting in audit findings? The second one, Chair, will be, how does the Auditor General plan to support or align with the professionalism agenda to ensure that audit processes encourage a culture of compliance, competent, and continuous improvement among PSA employees? The last one, Chair, in your recent audit, how you observed any early sign of improvement in ethical conduct, governance, or service delivery that could be attributed to professionalization effort within the departments? I think, Chair, I've taken my 2 minutes in a smooth and nice way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Tikana, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning once more to all members on the platform. Chair, let me add a word on those who are welcoming the report, Chair. However, I'm having a few questions to the department and also the National School of Government, Chair. Let me first start by echoing what has been said by Honorable Xolisi on the use of consultant in the public service, Chair. It's really a concern to us as members of the committee, because in my understanding, where there are gaps, there needs to be identified, and also the current workforce be capacitated on the areas where gaps have been identified. In that respect, Chair, I would like the department to present to us the overall cost of consultants in 157 departments, government departments. The overall cost, remember, we're talking about the budget, which is shrinking, and we are having the workforce whom we are paying, whom I believe that if we capacitate them, at least there would be savings and employment of other people. Chair, I request that we be appraised on the cost in details in the next presentation by department, for us to be aware of what is really happening and be able to advise the department as a structure which is responsible for doing oversight. I believe it's not oversight only, but it's to come up with some recommendation, which our interest is to save the money of our government. To NSG, in the trainings they are conducting, are they not able to develop a module to capacitate the incumbents occupying legal and labor positions in the government departments, for them to be able to process the cases, disciplinary cases within the workforce. So if that can be done, I would wish that it be added or be a module specifically to focus on those which I believe can reduce the cost, because in those various departments there are directorates for legal and there are directorates for labor, which I believe if they are capacitated in partnership with the higher education institutions, at least we can save more and we can be able to appoint more or fill some vacancies when we save on the consultancy fees. We cannot talk about consultancy fees on annual basis as the government. And also, if the department in their presentation can include the number of cases which are outsourced in all the various departments and the time they take. Chair, I believe that we were presented some time about time taken where we said at least they must not exceed the stipulated time, the cases when they are conducted. In my understanding, if there are more costs which are utilized in paying for the outsourced cases, it will mean there will be that alleged corruption which is taking place, because the more the case takes place, the more funds are being used in paying for those particular cases. It's paying to the service provider and payment for the person who is being alleged or for the person who is undergoing the disciplinary processes. To the department chair, I would like to know when they institutionalize when they institutionalize the professionalization framework, does the department induct its staff and recruit on professional ethics and conduct? Is there any module or program on ethics and ethics, conduct, and professionalization? In the last quarter annual performance plan, Chair, the department has promised that the professionalization framework will be implemented in local government. How far is the preparation in this regard? Also, the department must take the committee through on the inclusion of the entities and other organs of state for workshop, because it's indicated that they have provided workshop to 157 national and professional departments on the professionalization framework. But what about the entities that are crucial for our development state, and what is the criteria that the department use to workshop its stakeholders? I believe that, Chair, all the departments are having M&E directorates within their structures. Can the department confirm the institutionalization of this important unit within the ranks, or there are departments which still do not have the M&E units? Also, does the School of Government have the M&E unit within its structure? Chair, the framework has been in effect since 2022. Can the monitoring and evaluation unit within the department give us a synopsis of the effectiveness of the framework output since its inception? And what are the shortfalls, if there are any? I think, Chair, those are the issues which I wanted to bring to the attention of the department and the committee. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Matutu, welcome. Please go ahead.
Greeting colleagues, officials, nangane ezibazayo. Mandithathe lithuba just 1 minute because of time. I'll go straight to AG because apha ndibona kuthethwa nge-clean audit. But ufumaniseke ubana phaa kwa-water, sithethe nge-water kakhulu, o-affect abantu bakuthi abasasela neenkomo kwiindawo zakuthi. Uyayibona ufumaniseke uba there is no service delivery koomasipala, but kuthethwa nge-clean audit. Especially Eastern Cape, no roads, nothing. If you uyisuka eMqanduli usiya eElodale, uhamba kwi-swimming pool, ayisezo zona nee-potholes, kodwa kuthiwa iindlela zenziwe. Iindlela ndicinga ubana zamka noComrade Tikane because nguye wayesenza indlela e-Eastern Cape. After yena asikho indlela kodwa kuthiwa zenziwe, kuphuma imali ezinkulu zikarhulumente kuthiwe iindlela zenziwe, kuna-clean audit. Abantu abanambani Ward 21 kuno-10 kilometers bendihamba kuyo uphuma kwam esibhedlele 2 weeks back. Ndihamba kuWard 21 eLokwatyholo, kuthiwa ku-10 kilometers wenziwe i-KSD lona we-10 million. Ihlazo, even suppose bana kune-bridge phaa, into abayenzileyo just bafake nje umhlaba so that loo nto leyo imke nenantsika, no pipes, nothing. Akwenziwanga stormwater so that imke nomvula. So i-point yam iku-AG bana how come kwezi department zingaka i-corruption ingaka but usixelela nge-clean audit, because i-service delivery must be honest, there is no service delivery. Instead i-clean audit iyakhiwa. So ndicela nje ke akakandiphendule apha kwezi department, especially uwater nomasipala, kwenzeka njani kuthiwe kuna-clean audit. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Matutu. Honorable Longa, your hand is still up, but it's been up, so I'm going to assume that it's still a legacy hand, and that we can hand over to the departments to answer the deliberations of the committee. Unless, Honorable Longa, you want to just inform us if you've had a...
Apologies, legacy hand.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for clarifying that, Honorable Langa. I would just like to ask a quick question myself. The recent debacle which we saw in Parliament around Minister Nkabene's CETA board appointments highlighted the need for enhanced oversight in ministerial board appointments as well, and professionalization to take place on those board appointments as well. Does the AGSA see that their role in looking at in implementing and monitoring the professionalization framework to extend to look at these ministerial appointed boards as well? And I would like to know just from the DPSA whether this is something which they will look at as well, because if we are saying that people appointed in the public service must be appointed professionally on merit, then surely board appointments, who does the very important oversight work that they do, must also be based on merit and qualifications, and not on other reasons. So that would be my question. I then hand over to the DPSA, the National School of Government, and the AGSA to have an answer, to give answers to all the questions from members. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. If I can please ask my Deputy Minister, the Honourable Deputy Minister. Ma, do you want to come in, or can I take the questions? Thank you.
No, DDG, you can proceed. I'll make the overall comment after.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. And if I can confirm, Honorable Chairperson, that I am audible. Thank you.
Audible. Thank you very much. Proceed, please.
Thank you. So in the interest of time, Honorable Chairperson, I'm going to combine the responses, right? So that we're going to have ease of reporting back to the questions. Second, then, notwithstanding the fact that as the Department of Public Service and Administration, we note all the inputs, the contributions by the honorable members and the honorable chairperson, and we would take that very seriously into consideration. Let me start by saying that we have commenced work already to an extent with the local government. However, Honorable Chairperson, we have sectorial acts in terms of the law, which sometimes then limits our jurisdiction. As an example, the Department of Public Service and Administration is under the Public Service Act, which focuses on the public service at both a national and a provincial level. Whereas the public sector then, and those sectorial acts will go right down onto local levels. But notwithstanding that, what we have done already is 157 national and provincial departments, including government components which fall or resort under that. We already started work with the COC or COCTA, the ministry and department, so that we do not go into the jurisdiction alone, but that when we do go in, we are led by COCTA. Now, besides the DPSA and the work we have been using or doing rather on a national and provincial level, COCTA as well has already started deep work. So therefore, Honorable Chairperson, I must support the Auditor-General of South Africa insofar as the suggestion goes on oversight by indicating that as our portfolio committee, perhaps some indulgence with the DCOC, NT, National Treasury, DPME, Higher Education Presidency will give us a good, neat, rounded, compact, if I could put it that way, of the good work being done as we just started the official directive from 1 April. And then if I move on, if we look at the input from Honorable Langa. Honorable Langa, thank you very much. I'm a passionate public servant indeed, Honorable Langa. And just to add then to the next one of the inputs that was made about the Department of Public Service and Administration, or in the question then, referred to as the department. I want to give assurance to the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Langa, Honorable members. The DPSA has not used a consultant or consultants in the last 2 years that I'm in the department to do any work on the professionalization that reports under my portfolio, my program. So there's absolutely no money spent there. And to just give Honorable Langa, then I know it's not your question, Honorable Member, but just to give you reassurance, indeed, I've gone to bed at 4 o'clock and woke up at 5 because we do not have consultants, Honorable Members. We do the work ourselves as public servants. So when we look at the, and thank you, Honorable Langa, for your good input and for noting the work done by the DPSA, my team DPSA. On the sustainability beyond 5 years, and how are we going to institutionalize memory? Then I will move on to the specific measures we're putting in place, and I will close there then with the measurable qualitative measures, let's say playing along, jingling and jangling with the quantitative parts of the data. How do we merge that and how do we embed that? And I think all three questions are absolutely critical. So I'm going to have to, regrettably due to time, Honorable Chairperson, run through that very quickly. Establishing merit-based appointments must remain for its entire term that the public service remains. So that is something that when we start to establish and how we go about now establishing, it must be impactful, Honorable Langa. And by making it impactful, then we know, even when we are gone one day, that this will be sustainable for many generations to come. Thank you, Honorable Langa. That was important. Embedding professional standards beyond norms and standards, one that cultivates a culture where ethical conduct and, importantly, public accountability becomes non-negotiable. As public servants, as rightfully pointed out by the honorable members, and for me to paraphrase Honorable Chairperson, we must and we are accountable. And then very quickly, let's explain that. Accountability simply, when you take an action or when you take a non-action, you fail to take an action. Then when you take a decision or you fail to take a decision and the times involved, answer. Public servants, we answer. The way and manner in which we enhance oversight and performance management, it must be mechanisms, it must be instruments to detect, prevent, and act against any form of maladministration and corruption in the public service. A simple example, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Langa, taking government paper, that ream of paper, and printing bills, your private bills, or printing assignments, that's where ethics goes wrong in its simplest form. And then we must institutionalize, as I've indicated, continuous learning. When we recruit, we must make sure that we're not filling positions, because as an establishment with a funded post, Honorable Chairperson, but we bring in talent that even like myself after 34 years, we still have passion for civic duty. Talent that will enable and make a difference to the lives of our people in South Africa. So ethically, not just putting a warm body, but for future conduct, the kind of initial conducts we're expecting. Strengthening financial controls. I spoke about the accountability, looking at integrity, enabling to live monitoring dashboard systems. How do we redirect money towards service delivery? We must start with zero-based budgeting. We must look at expenditure reviews, Honorable Chairperson, not as quarterly activities, not as monthly compliance reports, but as daily dashboards, where we monitor daily every cent and how we account for that. Tightening our reforms against contract management. Cost containment. There's no luxury in the public service. There can't be luxury in the public service, Honorable Chairperson. We work in the public service for civic duty. And then reducing cash handling and manual processing. And I'm moving on then to Honorable Malinga and Honorable Tikana and my Honorable other members. Capacity building is important. And we agree, consequence management alone is indeterminate. It's insufficient. We must look at automated tracking using digital tools. As an example, the work that the Honorable Minister of Finance indicated on the ghost workers and how we're going to use multifactorial methods insofar as cross-pollination, cross-correlation between financial institutions, SARS, Department of Home Affairs in detecting ghost employees. Clearing consequence so that, let me put it this way to you very quickly, Honorable Chairperson. I am mindful of your time, sir. We shouldn't be having consequence management in the public service. I think that's something we must ponder over, because there should never be a need for that. As public servants, we should do the right thing even when nobody is watching us. Public reporting is important. We do that at the DPSA. We have a Batopeli unit. We have citizen public service, citizen-centric facing, where we go out and do Kaedu and various other programs. Institutionalizing through policy instruments, but we know Policy alone will not cut it for us. So how do we make the cohesiveness? How do we stick that glue? It's a puzzle, Honorable Chairperson, and to some large extent, a conundrum or an enigma that we would need to make sure is now cohesive. Leadership pipeline development, robust monitoring, we spoke about that. Moving on then on some of the concrete steps when we look at or the specific measures to support departments. Capacity building, Honorable Chairperson, that we started 1 April last year is not an event. And also, Honorable Chairperson, we didn't do it once off or twice off. We did it throughout the year, taking groups and groups and groups of department so that, we do not bloat it, but we are very focused, very deliberate, very clinical kind of workshops. Deployment of expert teams that I spoke about, guided improvement plans, strengthening performance monitoring, leadership interventions, and many, many, many of the very good programs that the NSG has indicated to us this morning. Qualitative is very important, and it must reside against quantitative. And I'm going to give it a simple term, Honorable Chairperson and members. Let's call it mixed methods. How do we mix all of that to come up with different types of testing as well with the data, quantitative and qualitative, the narrative? So we would look at competency assessments, we can look at citizen feedbacks from all of the projects that the MPSA or the Minister and our Honorable DM would do as an example, some narrative reporting, some independent evaluations and assessments like those from the AGSA South Africa. Looking at focus groups, so give you an example. We're going to be now doing spot checks as the DPSA announced, unannounced on various aspects, even including the ghost workers that were spoken about today. Observation methods then also become very, very important there. I'm going to then just move on very quickly, Honorable Chairperson, to addressing the skills gaps, the scarce skills. Let's talk about skills intelligence, Honorable Chairperson. How do we institutionalize regular skills audit and labor market intelligence? We must do that. And we must do that to systematically identify skills gaps and then scarce skills across the public service. And we have done, I think it's approximately, Chairperson, about 95 departments or provincial departments already on our skills audit methodology. And that team of ours, our HRD team, they're doing really good work on that one there. And then, Honorable Chairperson, there were lots of questions asked to me. So I'm going to wrap up now, sir. And just by saying that, yes, we take it very important. As an example, recruitment and selection indicators will be percentages of employment, percentages of Nukela, percentages of competent, recruitment, and those kind of things. And also to mention or continue on the skills audit and close up, we do workforce planning. So strategic workforce or human resources planning is critical. Higher education, indeed, we have partnerships, including with TVET colleges and our SETAs. Our SETAs play a key critical role, but none of this is consultancy work. So work-integrated learning becomes key and critical. As I said, working with the SETAs so that we can expand skills, bursaries, reskilling programs, and all of that is what, we are busy with and we have either started or in the pipeline somewhere. Another interesting thing I must close up with, Honorable Chairperson. I think you want me to close now. Talent mobility. And how do we enable cross-sector secondments, exchanges to build and bridge our skills gap, promote, let's say, knowledge transfer, not just theoretical instruction, but knowledge transfer and repositories. Knowledge management becomes key. Now, as you know, Chairperson, I've got much more to say. So, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, I take you seriously, but more importantly, I must thank you for your oversight because it helps me 3 times in a row. I thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. National School of Governments, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. We have questions from 4 honorable members, which I will respond to. The first questions were raised by Honorable Kaba with regards to the Nukela program. And it is correct, Honorable Kaba, that the Nukela program is compulsory. It's a pre-entry program. So you will not be appointed in the public service currently for senior managers unless if and when you have successfully completed the Nukela program. And yes, we do have monitoring and evaluation systems. We do have tools, and the system that we have and the tools that are linked to that system are part of this integrated evaluation model that we were talking about in our presentation. Really, there are three parts to this model. One is we use this 4-level training evaluation model. Secondly, we look at success case studies because we do believe that there are public servants amongst us who are doing good, and we need to study these success cases, some of which we include into our training programs when we try to innovate and to teach execution diligence amongst public servants. So that's the second layer. And of course, the third layer has to do with the theory of change. So our model is integrated in that way, and our tools are linked to that integrated model that I've just spoken to. Honorable Kaba also raises the issue of the skills audit and what about other departments. So this skills audit, Honorable Kaba, is the skills audit that we were instructed by the President to conduct, focusing on frontline and infrastructure departments. We are still in the process of the audit. We initially started with around 7 departments that we're working with, including Home Affairs that you've mentioned. It was one of the departments that we started with. But the reason why you do not see it in our presentation today, what we found is that in some departments, they had already begun conducting their own skills audits, and they had already procured service providers to assist them with such. Home Affairs was one of them. We are still working closely with them because they cannot reverse the procurement process that they had already undertaken, but we are looking at making sure that we integrate our audit process with the work that Home Affairs would have done, so that by the time the report is ready at the end of this year, we are able to also include findings from other departments such as Home Affairs. But we are working with much more than the 2 departments that we've shared. The 2 departments that we've shared today are those that are already ahead in terms of this phase of the survey with regards to the skills audit. Honorable Qilishe, you raise a number of important points which we are sensitive to ourselves as the National School of Government. So you are worried, and correctly so, that maybe our focus is too elitist. Let me assure you, Honorable Qilishe, that of the 52,380 public servants that we train annually, more than 70% of those are below senior managers. They are not directors, they are not chief directors, they are not DDGs, they are not ministers. More than 70% of them are below directors. And that includes our very focused interventions on unemployed youth, which we work with NARISEC on, where we train thousands of unemployed youth annually to try and break barriers into public service employment. We have a program that we call with that exact name, Breaking Barriers into Public Service Employment. So we are very sensitive to that area to make sure that we focus more and more on young people to make sure that they're able to gain entry into the public service. We are not over-reliant, Honorable Qilishe, on private partnerships. We use private partnerships to do what you have correctly stated, build our own internal capacity. We accept that we cannot be experts in every field. So where we partner, we make sure that these partnerships assist us to build our own internal capacity. But we are also cognizant of the fact that irrespective of all the efforts to build our own internal capacity, we will never, as one institution, be experts in every field that we need to master. So we use these partnerships to gain strategic leverage so that even in those areas that we might never be able to master, we partner with those that are already mastering that field so that we gain the necessary leverage to still be able to professionalize the public service. Honorable Malinga, you raise a number of problems. Yes, you are correct in terms of the programs and whether they align with the professionalization framework. We have gone out of our way in the presentation to share that and indicate that we have been working hard in the last few years to ensure that we realign all our programs to ensure that they align with the framework, they respond to critical areas in the framework, they deal with some of the issues that triggered the professionalization framework itself, including some of the findings that might have emerged from the Zondo Commission, so that if we have to worry about supply chain, we must have interventions that deal with supply chain at the National School of Government. And how to ensure ethics accountability? The minister issued a directive, the Minister for Public Service and Administration issued a directive about 2 years ago that made it compulsory for all public sector employees to complete the online ethics course that we are running. So that's part of the initiative that the ministry has been undertaking to ensure accountability in relation to issues of ethics. Honorable Tikana, you raise an issue around legal labor training to deal with disciplinary cases, which is a correct issue to raise. We have been in discussion ourselves because we are worried that the legal profession in the public sector is not professionalized yet. So you are correct. There are legal people in the public sector who are working in the public sector but are not able to assist us as the public sector to ensure that legal cases can be handled internally. So we've been having conversations with the Justice College, we've been having conversations with the professional body of legal practitioners called PABASA, to see how they could assist us to professionalize the legal profession in the public sector so that those that are in that sector are able to serve papers, they're able to prepare paper, but also they can assist us to deal with some of the disciplinary cases that we have to deal with. Chairperson, those were the issues that we thought we could respond to from our side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. AGSA.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I'll start. Then I have my two colleagues that will also assist with the rest of the questions. That will be Majalefa and also Jimmy Macheta on the line. So the first question that was presented to us was, when can the committee expect the outcomes of the auditing of the directive? Chairperson, we are currently busy with the audit. We did receive the financial statements from the different departments on the 31st of May. We should be finalizing the audit process by the 31st of July. And then from there, it will go through the different reporting structures. And once the annual reports have been tabled before Parliament, and I think we will then come back to the Portfolio Committee to report on the findings around October this year, when the BRRR process begins. So then we'll be able to share with the committee what it is that we have picked up from the audit of the directive. But also what is very critical, Honorable Chair, is that the framework, the professionalization framework, does not belong to the AGSA. We audit the professionalization framework and the directives thereof, and then we provide insights and the findings that we have picked up. But also then, in terms of the work that we do, maybe just overall addressing the issue that the member raised on the audit itself. And remember, in audit, we issue a reasonable assurance opinion. We do not issue a absolute assurance, so we do work on a sample basis, and we will then not be able to pick up everything that happens and then report on that. But Jimmy will talk more in terms of the role of the AGSA and the audits of the 3 areas that we focus on, which is the financial statements, compliance, and also the audit of AOPO. I think there were some questions that were asked by the members, but we'll try to combine the answers to them. And if there are any others that are still not answered, I will come back once the 2 colleagues have actually come in. Then I'll provide the overall overview. Thank you so much. Then I'll hand over firstly to Maketa, who will take us through some of the questions. Then I'll finish off with Mojalefa. Then I'll come back again with your permission, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Afternoon, honorable members. So as Nomtana has indicated, I'll be responding to some of the questions. And I think it was maybe to take it a step back, it was quite important that if I were to summarize what is the envisioned or what is the role of the AGSA as it relates to the implementation of the professionalization framework that aims to professionalize the whole of government. We are aiming, or we are wanting to position ourselves as an influential strategic partner to government in the implementation. Government will be in the forefront. Government will be the one that is taking the lead in how this ultimately gets to be made. But our role is to say, because we have oversight, we have an auditing responsibility over the whole of government, there are certain insights, observations that we do make, and using those, let's try then and influence the journey as it relates to professionalization. What do I mean by influence? Let's then make impactful recommendations that are going to see professionalization happen. As Nomtana has indicated, professionalization framework is not developed by the AGSA. It is a government document, and therefore we are assisting in making sure that there are strong foundations around how professionalization within the government is the journey that they're ultimately taking, and how will they get to see this successful implementation of that. So I think it was quite important that we highlight that, because then because some of the questions did ask around what is the strategic position of the AGSA, what is the role of the AGSA. As Nomtana has indicated, our role when we do look at different audits is to look at the audit of the financial statement. When we do look at the audit of the financial statement, our intention there is to say, do the numbers as presented in the financial statement represent the financial position of the entity that we're looking at, the department, municipalities, and even SOEs. And as it relates then to compliance, the ones that we have scoped in, to what extent have they complied with the necessary laws and regulations? As it relates then to performance information, what the entities have included in their annual performance plans, to what extent then are they useful, first of all, and to what extent then is it reliable information? So you would have seen that as part of our introduction, we were saying we also want to see an improvement in the lived realities of South Africans. So for us to go and do that, as one of the tools that we do have is using an audit. So when we do issue out a clean audit opinion, it emphasizes that there is strong governance. There is the financial statements were free from material misstatements. There were no material non-compliances identified. That the performance information reported is accurate and useful. And you would have seen the AG herself recently presented the municipal the MFMA audit outcomes. And I'm deliberately maybe focusing on the municipal, the MFMA audit outcomes, because she showed that as it relates to local government, there's a dire situation as it relates to how the municipalities are being managed. And we are seeing that we have a considerable number of disclaimers. We have a considerable numbers of unqualified municipalities, and we have a small portion of clean audit opinions. Where service delivery is dire and it's not happening at the right level, it's mostly concentrated with municipalities that are in the disclaimers, qualified or unqualified with findings. And then where they are clean administration and repetitively so continuously obtaining a clean audit opinion, this is where then they get to see, or we get to see, that there is an improvement in the service delivery. So a once-off clean opinion might not translate into the necessary service delivery that we need. However, we have seen that if there is repetitive clean audit opinions, that is where then we get to see that there is actually, it translates, because it translates into improved service delivery. So I think it was quite important that I do highlight that. Some of the questions also asked about consequence management and practical measures that are being included. So as part of our observations, when we did look at the professionalization framework, it is one of the things that we noted. It is one of the things that we did include in slide 7 or that we are calling for as included in slide 7, which is that let's have a strong ethical culture is critical, which is supported by practical mechanisms to prevent and combat corruptions, including robust consequence management frameworks that promote transparency and accountability. So we are also saying this is quite important that in the framework itself, or as management, as the department is implementing the professionalization framework, that the crystallizations around how consequence management will be enhanced is one of the things that needs to also come as part of this journey that has been undertaken. As it relates then to the professionalization maturity index, if you look at also on slide 7, we have highlighted it as one of the things that we are highlighting as one of the things that the department, because the way that we have positioned it was to say it's quite important that that there is a proper defined measurable outcomes. So when we say a particular department has been professionalized, it should not be a lot of input based, but it should be output based, or looking at the outcome and what you are able to ultimately see. If we go and have a lot of qualifications, are we then saying a lot of the staffs in the department having a lot of qualifications? Are we then saying the institution has been professionalized? So one of the call to action as it relates to the department was to say we should have measures that have been developed in such a way that an index of some sort, maturity index of some sort, that says this department is more professionalized than the others, and it should be in that particular manner. So not necessarily, the department doesn't necessarily have to develop a professionalization maturity index as the AGSA has ultimately been recommended, but it's important that they are able to measure one department versus another department and ultimately government as a whole. To what extent then do we have maturity, professionalization maturity? So I think it was quite important that we highlight that. One of the other questions that the honorable members highlighted was to say, what are we currently observing versus what the framework aims to ultimately achieve. So even though we did highlight certain areas of improvement as it relates to the framework itself, in our general reports and in a lot of our communications as the AGSA, we do put the implementation or speedy implementation of the professionalization as one of the key levers that we believe government should be using to professionalize, achieve service delivery, and even improve audit outcomes, because it is, if achieved in its holistic view, it is one of those impactful tools. So what we get to see when we do our audit is one of the challenges that the professionalization framework aims to achieve is sitting around inadequate skills and capacity, and circumventing in certain instances recruitment processes not being based on merits, lack of continuous professional development, lack of accountability and consequence management, non-adherence to supply chain management and other compliance with legislations and laws and regulations. So with the professionalization framework and its full implementation, including some of the things that we are highlighting as enhancement that needs to be made as it relates to the framework itself, we then foreseeing that the challenges as I've outlined today would be mitigated. So maybe let me stop here. And Nomtana, maybe let me give back to you. You'll indicate if there's any specific one that I might have missed. Thanks.
No, I think that's fine. Thanks, Marita. Let's hand over to MJ now to take us through the rest of the questions, then I'll come through. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Nomthandas. I think all the questions were responded to by Jimmy, but just to add on to the one relating to ghost employees, to say, as the DPSA has indicated that they also do have a program or a campaign or measures that are putting in place, over and above what we would do as well is to just assess such measures, just to see if there's any deficiencies that we would have identified from ourselves. And when we try influence through insights that we would gather, those are some of the issues. If we pick up any within that we'll also share with the DPSA. And over and above, as we perform also our audit procedures with regards to the employee costs and whether there is any existence of ghost employees, if there's any findings there as well, we'll then also share them also with the relevant accounting officers as well, just to put control measures in place, because the PFMA and any relevant legislation is the one that is then charging the accounting officers in with regards to how the department affairs are then being handled. I think maybe on the question of the boards, maybe Jimmy, if you can just also briefly just touch on that, the board appointments, and I think that is the last question that we wouldn't have spoken to. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mjalefa. As it relates to the board appointment, we do share the concern. We do share the concern, and we've been having robust engagements with the DPE and also the standing committees where DPE and DPME do report to. So some of the observations that what we have seen and what we have been advocating for in those different standing committee is, it's quite important that there is a policy or a framework that clearly outlines the process that's supposed to be followed as it relates to board appointments. because with the ones that we have audited in the previous years, we found that there weren't clear policies and frameworks that guide the appointment of boards. And what we have noted is some of those, if there are any policies and procedures, they're not based on performance. So you find that certain board members get reappointed, but you don't get to understand on what basis were they reappointed, was their performance assessment done, and to what extent. Some of the other things that we have also noted is that as it relates to the appointment, certain board members would be appointed. However, when we inquire and start looking at the appointment, we find that there are no pre-approved list of skills requirements for the board. So you would imagine that different SOEs would need different skills, different skill sets. So upfront, it should be clear what kind of skills should holistically the board have, so that at the end you are able to tick off that holistically the board have the required skills mix as envisioned. In certain instances, what we have also noted is appointments would be made without the disclosure of financial and other conflict of interest. So board members would only be required to disclose and do the vetting process while they're already appointed, which is a challenge as you would imagine. So some of the things that we were calling for is there needs to be better vetting of the board members before they are ultimately appointed, as it relates to as it relates to board members. So we do share the concern of the chair as it relates to this. And I think noting or taking some of the some of the key recommendations from the framework, the professionalization framework, it also acknowledges that as it relates to board and appointments of board and how SOEs are governed, this is an area of improvement, and this is one of the pillars that are in the framework that should be looked at. So I'm hoping that it does get the necessary attention that it needs with speed, so that SOEs as well get to see the professionalization as envisioned in the framework. Thank you.
Thanks, MJ, and thanks to Machalefa on that. Maybe just overall, Honorable Chairperson, if maybe just come back to the question by Honorable Member Mandla on the issue of clean audits, right? That is the concern that has really been making the AGSA have sleepless nights, to say, you have clean audits, yet there is no service delivery. And hence, when I started right at the beginning, we said that we have this bold strategy to really shift the public sector culture by 2030 to ensure that the clean audit opinion does actually correlate to what we see on the ground in terms of service delivery. You don't want just to have a clean audit, and yet when it comes to the lived experiences of the South African citizens, that they are not getting the basic necessities that they require. So that is why you would see that there was a concerted effort that would look in terms of the mandates of the different institutions, and also just aligning the mandates with their APPs, making sure that what it is that they're being tracked on does align to the mandate, and there is that service delivery to the citizens of the country. So really that has been the driving force when it comes to our strategy, and making sure that there is that improvement in service delivery to the South Africans. When it comes to the issue of the board appointments, Jimmy did touch on it. So we have carried on the discussions now with DPME after the dissolution of DPE. So it is one of the matters that we're still, advocating for, to say that there needs to be a process so that also the committees like yourselves will be able to hold the different departments accountable and the different SOEs accountable in terms of how they appointed the different board members. And also just maybe to close off on Honorable Malinga in terms of the what we have observed so far, we will be able to really give a comprehensive analysis if there has been a shift that we are seeing with the implementation of the framework. But also maybe just to talk to the other questions that were asked, which we did not necessarily address, which I think are not within our capabilities and our mandates, I think, was the issue of the nationalization of key industries, and also the question of addressing economic transformation. I think, Honorable Chair, you would agree with us that that's not necessarily for the purview of the AGSA to talk to those matters. But what I can talk to is the issue of consequence management, to say that once we perform an audit and we identify non-compliance and the different officials, there is no consequence management. As the AGSA, we do have what we now, the material irregularity process, where we do inform the accounting officer of the non-compliance and check if any steps have been taken to address that non-compliance. And if then we feel that there is no adequate steps that have been taken, then we do, go through the different stages of the material irregularity process to ensure that at the end of the day, there is consequence management, and the officials that are not adhering to the prescripts are actually brought to book, and they complete their duties in a manner that is compliant to the different regulations. Honorable Chair, I think with that, we have tried to address all the questions. I'll hand over to yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all of the feedback that was received. Members, it is now 20 to 1. If there are no urgent other questions, I think I am going to then ask for the end of the meeting. And I would just like to really thank again the DPSA, the NSG, and the AGSA for their presentations. It is vital that we see this type of coordination in our efforts to professionalize the state, and the committee looks forward to meeting again in the third quarter to see the further progress. And we really do appreciate your time that you've given to us today. Members, I see no hands, so with that, I think we can adjourn the meeting, and I will see all of you at the plenary session at the CTICC at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much, and with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chair.